A lot of people have been surprised to see the British government today file this letter to TikTok and to Rumble asking to demonetize Russell Brand over these allegations against him, and YouTube demonetizing him. And a lot of people are, there's a lot of pointing and sputtering that I see, a lot of surprise, a lot of shock, and what does one thing have to do with another? And, you know, isn't that terrible and silly, and that they would try to connect his revenues on the platform to off-platform activity? You have to understand the op here and how far back it goes and how it's structured. I wish you guys could have been there in 2017 when all the consensus building architecture was happening. There's a reason that I use the phrase censorship industry. It's not based on something I came up with. It's something they came up with. After the geopolitical turbulence of the events of 2016, when alternative news online, when non-mainstream alternative and populist news online became more powerful than mainstream news in terms of tilting elections and democratic outcomes and forming whole of society consensuses, such as with Brexit, just gonna let these people pass, with Brexit and with the Trump election. The foreign policy establishment's enforcement and basically conspiracy arm, these are secrecy clandestine services. If you don't want conspiracy theories about them, maybe we shouldn't allow them to be conspiracy agencies. But they got together, they did a consensus building process after the 2016 election. And I've got all the clips and source documents for this. I have more than I can possibly publish, where they formulated a plan where they looked at alternative news as an industry and an ecosystem rather than as an individually emergent phenomena, which is to say that they said there are a relatively small number of these alternative news institutions. There's a huge number of alternative news stories that they spit out. If we kill them at the institutional level, that's much easier than killing each and every story. Which is to say that the message was everywhere, and it was hard to stop each individual message. But there were a relatively few number, they identified, of emergent messengers, both chronically and then, periodically on an emergent basis. They said, how do we kill the messengers? Because that's the easiest way to kill the message. Well, the easiest way to do so is to look at alternative news online as being an industry with revenues and to cripple its capacities. Now, this is an important term here that I talk about a lot, and a lot of people might not catch the significance of it, but it's called capacity building. This is a concept in nonprofit world which refers to the pumping up of financial resources and personnel and technological abilities, but number one is financial resources. So, for example, when the State Department wants to run an operation in a foreign country, the first thing they do is they capacity build all of their civil society and private sector and news media outlets there. They pump them up so that they're more useful as assets, so that they have higher capacity to carry out the things they will be instrumentalized for. They said, we need to cripple the capacities of the alternative news ecosystem in order to basically kill the institutions. Now, they didn't have the idea of killing it completely. It's like counterinsurgency work. This is how they described it. With counterinsurgency work, you never quite kill the insurgent group who's challenging your government. What you do is the winning end stage is when you simply reduce it to a small, scattered, ineffective, burning embers. You reduce a burning flame of an insurgency just to these manageable burning embers. And this was the plan they set about. They created a censorship industry to kill the alternative news industry. Now, what I mean by that, and I use the word industry very deliberately here. This is not me being glib. Sorry, there's a little bit of background noise. I'll see if I can just power past it. What that means is they wanted to capacity build the institutions with capabilities to advance online censorship and capacity cripple the entities with capacities to produce online news, okay? So they created an industry to kill an industry. That's what all of this is about. That is why there is this government, private sector, civil society, news media, fact-checking, whole of society network. That whole thing was set up after 2016 to do exactly what's happening right now with Russell Brand. Now, there's two ways that they set about crippling the capacities of alternative news. One is by getting them censored on social media so that their volume is turned way down and less people can access their messages. The other is by killing their revenues on their own websites or platforms. So this is the invention of NewsGuard, for example. The whole reason that they target the ad revenue of websites, and they're targeting Russell Brand's ad revenue, and they're targeting Elon Musk's ad revenue, is because that is the most effective way to cripple their capacities. That is, Russell Brand will still be around, but he won't be rich. He won't be able to hire people. He won't be able to have a production studio. He won't be able to build he won't be an industrial size media participant. The industry of news will be dominated by those with capacities. So they want to upscale the capacities of mainstream and of the censorship assisting mainstream news institutions and kill the capacities. It's all about capacity targeting. And that's the reason that you see this British state thing. This is not an accident. It's not random. It's not disconnected. It's been the plan all along.